This is TWiT.
The end of the line on the Uber fatal car story. You may remember back in 2015, it was I think the first fatality from a self-driving vehicle. And Uber killed a woman in Tempe, Arizona, who was crossing the street in the middle of the night, in the middle of the street, by the way, not at an intersection, on her bicycle. The car hit her, killed her, and there was a lot of conversation at that time. Are these self-driving vehicles unsafe? Who gets blamed for a fatality in this case? And there was now here's the thing: there was a safety driver, and we found out from telephone records that she'd been playing a game while this car was going down the street. In her defense, it was the middle of the night. There was it wasn't easy to see. Had she even been driving, she might still have hit this person because she just came out of nowhere. In any event, this week she pled guilty to a count of endangerment and was sentenced to 3 years of supervised probation. No time in prison. It's a plea deal, so there was no jury. She could have faced.
Does the company face any sort of accountability in that sense?
Well, isn't that a good question?
Or is it just her?
Yeah. Because of the plea bargain, Uber does not have to worry about anything at this point. There was a lengthy investigation. Good for Uber. It would be nice if you were to plead guilty.
You were in the car.
Yeah.
You know? We weren't anywhere near it.
We weren't nowhere near the vehicle at the time, as you may remember. The National Transportation Safety Board did have a lengthy investigation. I'm not going to say her name, but the safety driver's legal team had shown every intention to make its defense about shifting blame to Uber, arguing that she had been set up to fail. And the NTSB found that the car failed to identify Hertzberg, the woman killed, as a pedestrian. No brakes were applied, so the car just whizzed right through. Uber, according to the NTSB, also kept a, quote, inadequate safety culture, doing little to protect test operators from the well-known phenomenon, we all have it, of automation complacency. That's why she was playing a game. The car's doing great. I don't need to worry about it. In the months before the crash, Uber had removed a requirement for there to be 2 test pilots in each car. Solo operators were often looping the same monotonous route on hours-long shifts, left to self-police their usage of cell phones. Sounds like Uber's a little bit at fault.
Yeah, and I'm sure these people aren't getting paid much.
Yeah. Vasquez's, I'm sorry, I said her name. Well, I'll say it now. Vasquez's attorney contends she was only listening to the voice, not playing a game, as operators are allowed to do. The investigators mixed up which phone Vasquez was looking at in the seconds leading up to the fatality. The defense attorney said in court, she was not watching the voice, Your Honor. She was doing what she was asked to do by Uber, and that is to monitor the systems in the car. Nevertheless, Judge, she's indicated the conduct itself was reckless. She acknowledges that and accepts responsibility. So, it's a tragedy. There's a person dead. We, at the time, kind of blamed Uber, but there was some question about the safety driver. She's now basically bearing all the criminal blame.
It would be interesting, though. Like, I know, and I understand why we're thinking that Uber might be like mainly at fault, but I do kind of wonder, like, what if she was actually just watching the road and just like messed up? Like, what if that were the case?
Yeah, which happens all the time, right?
Yeah, and it's just hard to know in this case because I don't think that there was enough to figure out, if she was playing a game or even if she was just watching the road and missed it or something.
Well, and let's face it, there are many, many vehicles now from Waymo, Cruise, and others driving without safety drivers. All over San Francisco, all over Phoenix, all over Los Angeles. Any of you ever driven in a self-driven car without... have you, Lou?
I have. It's a little freaky.
Yeah.
Especially as a passenger in the back seat. You have to kind of trust that they're doing the right thing.
Yeah, what are you going to do? Leap to the front seat and grab the wheel?
Exactly. Or jump out.
Yeah. So in a way, this conviction is kind of the ancient history of self-driving vehicles. We don't have test, safety drivers anymore. Not often anyway. All the cars in San Francisco, both from Chevy's Cruise, GM's Cruise, and Google's Waymo, are unpiloted. They're empty. And so far, there haven't been any fatalities that I know of. Maybe they're better at it.
Hey, I'm Rod Pyle, editor-in-chief of Ad Astra Magazine, and each week I join with my co-host to bring you This Week in Space, the latest and greatest news from the final frontier. We talk to NASA chiefs, space scientists, engineers, educators, and artists, and sometimes we just shoot the breeze over what's hot and what's not in space, books, and TV. And we do it all for you, our fellow true believers. So whether you're an armchair adventurer or waiting for your turn to grab a slot in Elon's Mars rocket, join us on This Week in Space and be part of the greatest adventure of all time.